it's Michelle here, founder and CEO of ihelpmoms.com. I'm so excited today for our Super Kids podcast. If you're a parent that is all about proactive parenting, about leaning into having a growth mindset, this podcast is for you. I have a very special guest today, the founder of Shift Happens Global. Andrea Vallely is on with me, and I am so excited to have you here today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you said something that was profound. And I actually called my husband right away after I had the honor of speaking to him. Like, I have to feature Andrea. What she said was just really resonated with me of a common parenting mistake that people make. So, we're going to talk about the three most common mistakes that parents make in their quest to create super kids. And you said the number one thing is that parents see their children as broken. So, Andrea, can you expand on this parenting mistake and how we might even naively or innocently do this?
Yes, I'm happy to. And it sounds terrible, but think about it. When we're trying to mold our kid into something, or we're thinking that they're doing something wrong, or, anything less than their perfection, we're in our minds labeling them as broken, and we're innocently projecting that onto them. We're innocently creating a scenario where they could be better. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't get better at something. That doesn't mean that they don't enhance their skills. But the gift that we can give our child is to see the health in them, even when they can't see it within themselves. And so many parents, again, it's so innocent, think, oh, there's something wrong. My child needs to be fixed. They may not be using these words in their mind, but that's what they're thinking. There's something wrong and something needs to be fixed. And if we believe that, we will very innocently generate that behavior out of our children. When we can see the health in them, even if they're misbehaving, even if they're not doing great in school, even if their relationships aren't great, when we can see beyond that, or actually underneath it, that they're just having an experience of sort of like ill health in their mind, but that's not who they are, that it's a temporary experience. What we do is we leave room for growth, and we create the space for them to see it within themselves.
Yeah. And Andrea, I always said when I started ihelpmoms.com that I was going to be authentic. And I have three little girls.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we experience in this that I find fascinating is my oldest one is very nurturing, very kind. I think a lot of parents that maybe have older girls find this to be true. She's
Yeah.
just a wonderful second mother, really.
Yeah.
Just by default, nothing that I parented. It's really her innate. And then my second one does not have a sport yet, doesn't really have an interest yet, hasn't found her thing, where that older one has definitely found her thing in life and is going a million miles per hour towards it. And then my little one, too, is our little firecracker and has found her thing. And so I think a lot of times we look at our middle as not necessarily broken, even though I think that's a really honest assessment of what
Yeah.
you say. But maybe it leaves us a little uncomfortable or a little unnerved that I don't code. I'm not a musician. I, as a parent, don't have the skills that she necessarily has been gifted with. So it leaves me in an uncomfortable situation where the oldest and the youngest, I know golf, I know gymnastics. I'm very comfortable in that parenting role.
Yeah.
And so you touched on something in our private conversation about sometimes we subconsciously try to parent our kids as seeing them broken and something that may have been broken in ourselves or something that we may need to heal within ourselves. And so many times parents come to parenting experts. I use our parenting experts all the time, and I help mom saying something is wrong or broken with my child, when really it helps to turn that mirror around to ourselves and say, maybe there's something unhealed or uncomfortable, unnerving about myself that I don't understand the interest that my kid has. So they're not broken. But what is your advice to stepping into maybe that uncomfortable or unknown place to help nurture them through that spot where they're not broken? It's just maybe we need to gain more understanding.
Yeah. I had a client just this past week, send me a text, and she was like, I don't see my son as a leader. And, that's how she wants him to be a leader. She's like, so that's where he really needs help. And I just responded and I said, well, do you think he's a leader? And she was like, well, no, but So my point in telling you that is that it's not our job to put somebody in a mold. Not everybody needs to be a leader.
Yeah.
Don't try to make your child what you think they should be.
So good.
Support them in how they are, right? Maybe he is a champion for others. And isn't that gorgeous, right? We're
Yeah.
not all leaders. We're not all intended to be leaders. Can't have a world of leaders.
Yeah.
We need a world of everybody's different, but we all work together because, it's this amalgamation, right, of everything coming together to create our oneness. So what I notice is that a lot of times a parent wants a child to be a certain way because they feel like that's the way to be in the world. Well, then you're
Mm.
not giving your child the respect to bloom with whatever gifts, whatever inner genius they've come to the planet with, because they have it. But it's our job to nurture that, to allow them to discover it and not think, well, the way that I am is the way that you need to be. So to answer your question, if you're thinking, well, I see this as maybe a shortcoming in my child, again, I love what you said. You want to put the mirror back on yourself. What is it within me that believes that this isn't okay? And then
Yeah.
you want to check in with that. And just know, everything is always perfectly perfect. Everything is in divine timing. And we are always, if we can look at our life and circumstances and look at everything like an advantage, even when it's a really tough situation and we can't see the advantage, when we open up the space for that, that's when we actually give the situation an opportunity to shift. But if we're so focused on it being wrong or bad, we're actually very innocently adding oxygen to it.
Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good. And, one of the things that leads into the client that you were talking about and expands upon that is
Yeah.
mistake number two that you spoke about in creating parenting mistakes that we don't necessarily intend to,
Yeah.
is not allowing our children to make their own decisions. And
Yeah.
this is something I see a lot, and it goes right in alignment with carrying on our conversation.
Hmm. Yeah.
What do you see in your parenting coaching, and how
Yeah.
can parents really overcome this?
Well, I see a lot of enabling, where they want to take care of everything for their child. And it's like, you've got to in order for your child to learn to ride a bike, you have to at some point take the training wheels off, and they may fall off the bike, but they will soon see that they can get back on the bike. Again, it's just a metaphor. We can pick apart any metaphor, but we want to allow our child to make their own decisions, of course, within reason. Again, everything, we can pick apart any metaphor, but we want to allow our child to see that they have their own wisdom,
Yeah.
that they are capable of being in the world and caring for themselves and making decisions. And we also want them to learn when they make a decision that's not so great, to learn from it. But if we never give them that opportunity, what happens is, well, a couple of things happen. Number one, we end up creating codependent adults. It's a
Mm.
disaster, right?
Yeah.
We end up
Yeah.
creating kids that become adults and do not know how to take care of themselves and are always second guessing themselves and don't trust their intuition. Okay,
Yeah.
they never learn that they have an inner GPS, that they have an inner genius, that they have their own ability to make a solid decision. And we're also teaching them not only to be codependent adults, but obviously codependent children. And we're stifling their bandwidth.
Yeah.
We're literally stifling their bandwidth. So
Yeah.
they don't have the opportunity to see their own magnificence. They
Mm.
become completely dependent on the outside.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Yeah. And for the parents that are proactive and that come to you to get coaching, what is that sign? What is that signal that's occurring in their bond, in that relationship of child and parent, when they're like, uh-oh, something has gone awry here, and you identify you're not letting your child make their own decisions, and it's having a negative impact on your relationship? What is that sign, symptom, and signal
Yeah.
that that parent is coming to you with?
Yeah, what I tend to see happens is that the parent will come to me with, almost an overwhelm, because what happens is they have innocently created the overwhelm. Because
Yeah.
again, the world abhors a vacuum. So if you believe you have one problem and you fix it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get another problem. And then you're going to get another problem. And then you're going to get another problem. So that's what happens, is it snowballs and it's never ending because they're not allowing their child to be who they are, to be in their fullness. Doesn't mean we don't step in. Of course we do.
Yeah.
But that's what I see, is they will be in a complete state of overwhelm, like I can't handle it, because they very innocently created this pattern.
Yeah, yeah, I see that a lot too, and
Yeah.
I've experienced that a lot. So I love parenting coaching. I'm a huge fan. I feel like it really allows you to have an objective perspective to what's going on. And although at times it can be a little jarring to hear that objective perspective, it's so helpful in the long run. I mean, it's really been a game changer for my family. And the third mistake that leads us to, that I find as an interesting duality to what you're saying about allowing children to make their own decisions,
Yes.
but the flip side of that is, making sure that we do have rules and regulations and
Yes.
standards set up in the family. So I
100%.
think that's an interesting topic that I would love to talk about, because
Yeah.
not having rules and regulations is the number three parenting mistake that you see.
Yes. I find today parents are afraid to make these rules and guidelines and they're not good at sticking to them, and that's a disaster. Kids need that to feel safe. They don't need you to do everything for them, but they need you to give them this. It's like having a safety net. My husband and I worked in a treatment center years ago, and the most common comment that I heard from the clients was, I wish my parents had given me more rules and stuck to them, because the parents let the kids run riot.
Yeah.
So the kids never had that safety of, oh, there's a rule, I must be in bed by 10. Oh, there's a rule, I have to have my homework done before I get to watch television or get on my phone. Oh, there's a rule, I'm only allowed to have a sleepover if I've done all my homework and I've
Yep.
gotten this grade, whatever. There needs to be rules. There needs to be rules. We all sit at the dinner table together. We respect one another.
Yeah.
And if you can't abide by these rules, there needs to be consequences that the parents stick to. That's where things get out of hand and parents come to me and their house is complete chaos.
Yep.
And you want to create this foundation. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for me. My personality is more like, oh hey, my personality is of the helper nature. That's my nature. So I had to really work on that. These are the rules and these are the consequences. And what you want to do with your child is you want to create consequences with them together as a
Yeah.
team. Okay, so if this happens, what do you think is fair? Okay, you can even write a contract. It's not a silly thing to do. Then it's very clear. And the child then has responsibility,
Yeah.
and they have a feeling of importance and that
Yep.
they matter, that they're in on this thing with you. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting what you're saying. I know one of the things that we did in our family, and I just love talking application. My husband and I own 5 different businesses. We have 3 little girls. Life is really busy. So
Yeah.
I'm in the trenches with you two parents, which is why I love the Super Kids series. I never want to feel like I'm out of the grind or I'm not in the trenches. Like, I'm right there with you and I want to learn these strategies. So one of the things that we did was we created a family values wall board. So we have 4 pillars that our family stands upon, and that's our standards. And we literally mounted it. It's probably 4 feet by 4 feet on our kitchen wall. So every single day, when all of our family walks in, it is the paramount feature of our family that we're very clear on our 4 values, and they're simple. And we actually printed out, we went to a family conference together and printed out core family values. The kids had a sheet, we had a sheet, each child had a sheet, and we all circled the values that we thought exemplified our family and that we wanted to exemplify, and then combine that. And it was one of the best things, just like Andrea is saying, is when you include your children in that decision making process, it's so powerful because everyone has buy-in. It's no different than when you're an employee at a job. You want to say, you want a voice, you want to feel like you have significance and that you matter.
Yeah.
And so that's one tip that really helped our family. And Andrea, going into that, what I want to also expand upon what you're saying with regulations and structure. Life is busy. I feel like life as a parent right now is busier than it's ever been in any time in history, with social media and all the demands of school and extracurricular activities. I mean, extracurricular activities are big, big business. So right now, I feel like we're just, really pushed that if our kids want to be great, they've got to be in all these extracurricular activities at a much younger age than I feel like we were ever. And so when you think about high tide parenting, or when you think about when everything is good, it's really easy to have these conversations. You're like, oh yeah, structure and rules and regulations and motivation and family values. But life doesn't always look like that. Sometimes you are at a low tide. Sometimes you are really overwhelmed. So what would you say is a really good timing to have in our parental purview to take a look at the rules that we have in place or analyze, like, is this working for my family? Like, what are some applicable tips you have to analyze, are the regulations and the rules that I have in place correct at this developmental age? Are they working for our family? And reanalyze, and when to sit down with our kids, because I think so many parents sit down with their kids when they're in a low tide, high stress moment, and that never works very well. So I'd
No,
love for you to expand about that.
yeah, yeah. So that's we use a lot of metaphors in our work, and so that would be, you're in the red. Like, so in the red is like in the basement, you're in the maze, all disaster areas, and that's never the time to have the conversation. You want to have the conversation when you're in the green, when you're above the maze, when you're in the penthouse. That's when you want to have the conversations. So I don't think that there's a set time when your child is, 5 years and 6 months. It's use your intuition. We have an internal guidance system, and it will always show us the best, quickest, most effective way to be in the world and to be a parent. So check in with yourself. If you're getting a gentle nudge, like, oh gosh, my child's going into sixth grade, they're going into middle school. I feel like this is a really good time to have certain conversations with them. I feel like this is a really good time to make sure that they're comfortable in their own skin. And that's the basis of our program, is teaching kids how to be comfortable in their own skin so that they are not at the mercy of social media or other kids or their socioeconomic situation or how they look, so that they just know they're perfectly perfect the way they are. They're in a place of acceptance in the world. So you want to just be mindful. You just want to be mindful of your own aha moments.
Yeah.
One of the things is, don't ignore your aha moment. When you get a thought in your head of, what, this conversation needs to be had, sometimes we're in the middle of a meeting, mark it down.
Yeah.
Make sure you put it in your calendar and get that conversation done, because that's a message that now is the time. So pay attention to the signals that we get. And just pay attention to your common sense. Common sense would be, oh, middle school, time to have a conversation with my kid, right? Common sense would be, oh, I noticed some of her friends are starting to date. Time to have a conversation, right? Common sense will always lead us in the right direction. And
Yeah.
if something doesn't feel authentic, like your friends may be doing a certain thing, maybe the
Yeah.
kids are taking a certain class, if it doesn't feel authentic for you, don't do it. Don't follow the masses. Follow your own wisdom. We all have
Yes.
it. And the more we use it, the more we're going to be in alignment.
Oh, I love that. So powerful. And you touched on something that I wanted to ask you as well and delve in a little bit more deeply. Social media has upended our culture in good ways and in creating stress and
Sure.
unnecessary body
Yeah.
image issues.
Yes.
So, what is your insight into overcoming that feeling to children today, that in order to be perfect on the inside, I need to be perfect on the outside? What is your recommendation for us as parents to help really nurture the inner genius of each of our children, separate from the societal pressure that social media puts on them about the outside appearance?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the world is our mirror. So you got to get one with you first. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, if you don't believe that you're okay the way you are, good luck showing your kid that they're okay the way they are. The work always begins with self, because the world is a projection of how we feel. So if we're concerned about our child, if we're concerned about that they're going to get sick, or that this is going to be difficult, or that they're not going to fit in, we will innocently project that onto our child. So the work is always within. And that's why in our, I don't just work with kids, because, and I think I mentioned this to you when we had a chat, was that most of the time when parents come to me about their kids, I end up having to, and enjoying every moment of it, working with the parents, because the kids are just a projection of us. They really are. So it's so very important that the kids get the understanding, but it's even more important that the parents do, because kids don't learn what we teach them. Kids learn what they live.
Yeah.
So if you're not comfortable in your own skin, you want to do that work for yourself to see that you're already perfectly perfect. And then if you want to do something to improve, if it's a skill, if it's health, you'll do that, but you'll do it from a strong foundation rather than from quicksand.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And one of the questions I always love asking our experts that I find fascinating is on ihelpmoms.com, we have coaches by the minute. We want to make it as easy for a parent to get a manicure or to get that cup of Starbucks as it is for them to get live on-demand coaching to overcome overwhelm or postpartum depression or feeding help with an infant or sleep. We just want to make it accessible throughout the world for parents to get that necessary help, because a village makes motherhood so much easier. What would you say is the difference between those parents that stay in that perpetual cycle of struggle
Mhm.
and just ping ponging from one advice of a friend to another neighbor to the Facebook group, but never actually putting into action change that could move them from chaos to connection with their family, compared to what is the feeling, the emotion, the action step, the proactive mindset the parent has that comes to parenting coaches like yourself to say, my reality that I'm living is not what I want, and I know I need to actively make a change. What is it in that parent that triggers them to want to make a change? And how can we normalize getting help before you hit rock bottom?
Exactly. Yeah. Most of the time they're at their wits' end. Most of the time they've tried 5,000 other things and then they come to me and they say, I wish I would have come to you first. I wish I would have known about this first, or I wish I would have paid attention. I contacted you 2 years ago, or whatever it is. Um, Pay attention to what is your world is your mirror. And if your world is chaotic, you must look within. And when
So
you
good.
look within and you quiet your mind, you'll know what to do. And it's so okay to get help. Raising kids, we don't get a handbook. There's no manual. I remember when I had my daughter, I was literally, I will never forget this, Michelle, thinking, I cannot believe that these people are allowing me to leave this hospital with this infant. I truly, that's what was going on in my head. I'm like, I can't believe they're going to let me leave here. I had no clue what I was doing. And I had the baby nurse set up, and I had my mom close by,
Yep.
and friends. It didn't matter because it's not about the outside.
Yeah.
It's never about the outside.
So
If you're
good.
not comfy, cozy within, the world will show you that that is what is occurring.
Wow. That is amazing. Love that. Love that, Andrea. And my question that I also love to ask is, in all the families that you've coached, what would you say the differentiating factor is in those kids that become super kids, that find their version, their meaning of success, that fulfill their zone of genius, that are soaring, compared to those children that just never quite feel comfortable in their own skin? What is it that allows these kids that you've coached and the kids that you've studied to really find, and for the parents to parent super kids?
Yeah, it's the kids see that they're not broken. The kids see that there's nothing to fix. The kids see that every situation is temporary. The kids see that, there may be a cloudy day, but the sun's always behind the clouds. They have this trust in their essence. They have a trust. They trust the universe. They trust the world. They trust that they're okay regardless of what's occurring. They understand the temporary nature of it. They understand that we have the ability to recalibrate.
So good. So good. And you can just feel those messages as parents that we too need to role model that. And the power comes from us living that and manifesting that within ourselves,
Yeah.
so we can also allow our children to soak in that mindset. That's so powerful, Andrea. I downloaded your table topics. That was something very meaningful to my family. We're running a lot of different uh, directions in the evenings. But the studies show that when families eat that meal together, or at least get connection time together, depression goes down, anxiety goes down, success goes up. There's just a lot of great conversation that happens. So your table topics have made a huge difference in my family's life, that we can just connect on something fun. And I love telling my girls I got to interview Andrea, and this is something that she created. Like, that in and of itself is very inspiring for our entrepreneurial family. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your free giveaways that you allow families like mine to enjoy.
Yeah.
And then also, I love you have From Stress to Your Best. And I would love for you to talk about that. That was game changing. So tell us a little bit about all that you offer and how we
Yeah.
can really create super kids through your work.
Thank you. So we do have it's a free course. It's 100% free, and it's called The Ultimate Guide to the Three Biggest Mistakes Parents Make and How to Solve Them. So it's elaborating on the topic that we spoke of. It's an online course. It's a video series. It's 100% free, no strings attached. We just want the world to have it, because that can make a huge change in our kids just by shifting the way that we parent. And along with that, we have our 33 conversation starters, our table topics that I actually wrote with my daughter. Because what I found is as she was getting older, it's like, well, how was your day? How was your, you start running out of questions, or, you get a little tongue tied, and you want to get to know your kid. Who's your best friend? Why are they your best friend? What do you love about them? What's your, do you know your kid's favorite color? What's your favorite food and why? What's your favorite hobby? What do you love about math class? Like, it's a really great way to just dig a little deeper with your child and get to know them. And they're great for any, I mean, you'll look at them and you'll say, okay, this is age appropriate, or, this I'll wait till they get a little older. But it's just a great way to create that connection. So I hope that everyone will download the program, The Ultimate Guide to the Three Biggest Mistakes. There's beautiful meditation that comes along with it, and just lots of things to help you parent, so, and we're always here to answer any questions. And then our program, which is Shift Happens for Teens, there's a couple different ways to purchase the program. If your child is just going into middle school or going to a new school, whatever it is, and they're really doing well, but you just want to give them that foundational understanding because you can see ahead of the game, and you're like, ooh,
Yes.
they're going to start to get more interested in social media. Like, you just want to make sure that they are solid no matter what. You want to just get them the basic program, right? And then we have a program that also has not only the course for kids, but also coaching for parents. And that comes with the course From Stress to Your Best, which, again, when we were talking about earlier, when you were asking the question, well, if your child is going through X, Y, and Z, what's the best thing to do? Your child is mirroring you. So this program has the course for parents as well, so that the parents can get themselves into a better state of healing, mental well-being, just overall well-being,
Yeah.
because all boats rise with the tide. That's why it's never just the kids. So that's From Stress to Your Best comes with that course. And then we have, like I call it, the Mac Daddy, which is if your child is experiencing anxiety or depression, so you want to get them the course, but they also need some coaching. So there's coaching for the parents and coaching for the child as well. It's all different ways to get involved with Shift Happens for Teens. And again, we start at middle school. That's really the best age to start. But wherever they are, it's foundational. It's something they will take with them for the rest of their lives, that they will enhance all their relationships. It will help their grades. It will help communication, because they're not at the mercy of a lot of stories that we get in our head. They start to recognize, oh, wait, that's not true. That's just some conditioning, things that I've been hearing that have become a belief, but is it really true? So when kids start to question their beliefs and recognize, wait a second, I'm okay, I'm just falling into the trap of the chaos, they get centered, they recalibrate, they get back to their comfort zone, and their behavior gets better. Everything improves.
Wow. I love that you have it for children, for parents, for both. I think that is so powerful. And most importantly, remember that we're not broken, our children are not broken. And together with Andrea's amazing work, truly, you're going to really move families from chaos to connection and more peace and love, which is really what all of us as parents desire, and creating super kids. So I love that. And the one piece of takeaway that I want to just say is a huge thank you to North Broward Preparatory School. They are our sponsor for this incredible Super Kids series. And ihelpmoms.com is here to help parents that want accessible online support. We are here to help you with breastfeeding, with parenting coaching, with sleep coaching, potty training, you name it. Our experts are right there to help you at as low as $1 a minute, because we want all parents getting that support, because your village really is here. So we will leave the links for Andrea's incredible free products and the 3 most common parenting mistakes. So make sure you download those, as well as the ongoing services that she provides. If you're a proactive growth mindset parent that truly wants to create a super family, super kids, and just love a life that you're living, make sure that you check out our continued Super Kids podcast. And Andrea, I want to say such a warm thank you for sharing your insight and your knowledge. And do you have an Instagram or YouTube that you love to give to parents to continue to support
I
you?
do. I do. Our Instagram is Shift Happens Global. So it's just all one word, Shift Happens Global. And on YouTube, which I would go to Instagram. I haven't been populating YouTube as much, but there's a lot of TV segments. I've been on CBS for years, so there are some great TV segments there. That's Andrea and Lee Vallely. So you can just look us up on YouTube that way. And on
That's
Facebook, it's
amazing.
Shift Happens, and you'll see our picture.
I love it. I follow them on Instagram. Incredible resource. So make sure you check out Shift Happens Global. Andrea, thank you so much. And I look forward to staying connected.
Thank you, my dear. You as well.
Talk to you later.